GT with the Vibe Podcast coming at you again as we continue the respect series. Gaining respect in society to help build and forge a better future. Today I'm going to go into compromise and negotiation. This won't be a super long one. I got long-winded on the last one. I will get long-winded talking about respect because I understand the great importance that it lies on society and some of the societal issues that we have going on today. So I'm going to talk about compromise. What does it mean to compromise, guys? Meeting in the middle, a solution that may not be what you want or what they want, but it is closest to pleasing both of you. So we look at the pendulum, you go side to side, and essentially what compromise is meeting in the middle. Let's bring it together, right? You come from your side, you come from your side, we come closer together. We've both given something up for us to get to this point. Compromise and negotiation, as I said, kind of elaborate on the last podcast, is extremely key to respect, right? Help build respect. So the goal of compromise is not to please one, right? It's not to please one. That creates an imbalanced relationship. The goal of compromise is to come together. Both must come together, give something up for each other to come meet in the middle. Forms of partnership. Relationships with your significant others, partnerships, right? They are partnerships. With your kids, they are partnerships. With your friends, they are partnerships. With your family, brothers, sisters, dads, moms, they are partnerships. These relationships are considered partnerships. Equal partners in the same business, a sense. So let's talk about the three types of compromise, right? There's a fourth one that's called rotten compromise, and we're not going to talk about that. That is some cult stuff that's way out there. We're not going to talk about that. Type 1, principled and pragmatic. So principled and pragmatic compromise, when you look at it, it's about blending qualities. So, you ever had Kool-Aid at the barbecue, and they put all that sugar in there, and they blend that all together so it tastes good? It tastes like sugar water. We love it. We drink it, right? Blending qualities is like that Kool-Aid. We put our qualities in, and we stir it up. And the outcome, right, is compromise. That's where compromise comes from. You put your qualities in, your partner puts their qualities in, we blend them together, and then we get compromise. So how do we blend? Good question. I'm going to talk about it. So when it comes to blending your qualities together for a family, so say you got a family, you got a wife, a husband, a couple kids. This principled and pragmatic compromise is going to be one of the foundation pieces for how your family can grow. So as you blend it together, because you may come from a different culture than your significant other. You may be Hispanic, your significant other may be Asian. Two totally different cultures. Two totally different ways to live life. Two totally different ways to raise kids. Two totally different ways. Completely different ways. Still humans, we still bleed red, but two different cultures. So when you have a blend of cultures, which these are the hardest relationships to navigate anyway. It's easy to navigate a culture where you're just the same as if you have two African Americans married, you have two Caucasians married, you have two Asians married, their cultures are the same. So you have more issues when you blend. That's why I said blending it together like Kool-Aid. So you must understand that you're doing what you're doing to attain a goal. So in order for you to blend it together effectively, you have to have a goal in mind. What is our goal? And you break it down into sections. Parenting, how are we going to parent our kids? What's the goal? Is the goal to have well-mannered kids that are respectful, hardworking? Is the goal to allow your kids to be able to just express themselves however they want to? And to be able to do what they want to, whenever they want to? Is that the goal? Is it the goal to be able to have a united front in front of your kids? To make it easier for you guys to be able to set goals for your kids. Goals. Everything here is goal-oriented. So, as we're talking about principled and pragmatic compromise, it's not a compromise of principles. It's a principled compromise. So we're not telling you to compromise your principles. We're not saying, hey, you believe in this, don't believe in that no more because we're compromising. No, 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 no. We're saying that when you have this conversation with your significant other, bring your principles to the table. They bring their principles to the other side of the table. And then you guys deliberate, negotiate, communicate. Those three things all go together, but all have separate meanings. And so as you communicate and you kind of negotiate and you figure things out, that's where compromise happens. You guys meet somewhere in the middle and say, this is where we're going to be at. All right, this is how we're going to parent our kids. Bam, done. Checked it off the list. Other things that can be hard in compromise in principle is if you have two different religious backgrounds. Even within Christianity, there are different religious backgrounds. Baptist, Methodist, Protestant, Pentecostal. Though they all believe essentially the same thing, their paths to it and some fundamental things are different. Who would have thought that being a Christian would have so many different Christian meanings? But it is what it is today. That's the world that we live in. And so even within the Christian realm, you can both believe in Jesus and still have issues because things are different. That is something that compromise. That's where compromise is gonna have to happen. But you're gonna have to have a goal. So as you communicate your values, I'll say one off the top that I could think of immediately. Some people will baptize their kids early. Some people want their kids to understand before they baptize, and there's differences. I've been to many different churches, many different styles. I've seen a lot. There's differences in just doing that simple thing. So you have to compromise. So if you get in a relationship and your significant other is like, hey, I want our baby to be baptized, and you're like, well, I want our kid to know Jesus before he gets baptized. Conversation has to happen. Communicate, but understand that the goal is not what your partner wants or what you want. It's what's best for the kid. Make that the goal. So take the goal out of your hands and put it into the hands of wherever it's supposed to be at. Now, will that work in everything? No, because there's going to be some compromises that have to do with the individuals that are in the relationship. And how do you take yourself out of it? It's hard to take yourself out of it. So we're going to talk about rational compromise. Is giving up something by both sides, being rational, not being emotional. So when you come to the rational compromise type of situation, you're thinking not from an emotional standpoint, but from rationale. You're thinking from rational. What is actually best, not what I feel is best, right? And so when you take emotion out of it, typically that's the key to make a lot of compromising decisions. Most compromising issues have to do with how someone feels, not with the actual facts of the situation. So it could be one that's probably going to ruffle some feathers out here in your relationships. I hope y'all don't fight about it today. Don't fight about it. Spankings for kids, right? Culturally different. Even from a religious standpoint, different. It's changed. And so when you take your feelings out of it, because a lot of times when you have conversations about this, it can go a couple different ways. One way that I've experienced it going is I'm okay with whoopings. I'm okay with that. If you need to get a spanking, you need to get a spanking. It is what it is. Just make sure that as a parent that you're not coming from a place of anger when you do it because you don't want to overdo it. Whereas what if your partner's like, hey, I didn't like that when I was younger, so I don't want to do it now. So now feelings come involved. So now it's like, well, it worked for me, maybe it worked for you. I don't know. But now it's feelings get involved. So then when you get, well, it worked for me and I feel like this about it. Well, no, I feel like this about it. When you start saying I feel when you're trying to compromise, you're not going to compromise. You can't compromise with I. Never compromise with I. Now, when you talk about how you're feeling and you're having a conversation that's separate from the compromise table, yes, you use I statements, but not when you're trying to compromise. When you're trying to compromise, it's we need to do this. We need to try this. Maybe we should do this. Maybe if we try this, this will happen. We. When you're compromising, it's two people. It takes two people to compromise, not one. Compromise is not one-sided. If compromise becomes one-sided, then you're going to have a problem. You'll have an imbalanced relationship. So when we think rational, put your feelings aside and let's look at the facts, okay? And if you look at the facts on things, we can look at the facts on whoopings. I know a lot of you guys out there got whoopings if you're my age. I got whoopings. My brother's got whoopings. Were we emotionally scarred? No. Were we disciplined? Yeah. Did we have a healthy respect for authority? Yeah. Did we end up okay? Yeah. We all got good jobs. We all are good in the community. Two of us are community servants. We got whoopings. So how much did it actually affect us that we got whoopings? Not a lot. Not a whole lot. Did it scar us? Did we feel like we were abused as children? Did we call 911 and say we were being abused? No. We did not. We took our lumps, we moved on, we grew from it. Strong individuals now, doing a lot of great things in life. Families, we got families, and one of us is in management, two in public service, like I said. We got whoopings. So when you take the feelings out of it, and it's not I feel this, it's what happened. What was the product of how you were brought up? And I think that's the problem that we have in society nowadays, is that people have feelings about stuff now. They're just like, well, I feel like this. But when you look at it, are you okay now? Do you guys have like scars? That if you got scars, go talk to some therapists. But are you okay now? Did you end up in a lesser place because you got spankings? I think the majority of you would say I'd end up in a lesser place if I didn't get spankings, because I was over there doing some stupid stuff, and I will admit I was doing some dumb stuff. But this is just an example of taking the feelings out of the compromise. Let's look at facts. Let's look at facts when we're talking about things that can grow your family. If that's parenting, look at the facts of parenting. How you feel is not a fact. That's a singular statement of somebody who has a certain opinion. It's not facts. Your opinion is not fact. How you feel, not fact. So when you're rationally trying to compromise, you have to take feelings out and you have to think in facts. What was, what is, and how was it? And then what happened? Did something bad happen or did something good happen? It's the only way to measure it. Rational is the best way to compromise, because when you take your feelings out of things, you have the simple look at the way things are, and it helps you with making a better decision. And then that leads you to fair compromises. These require deliberation and keeping balance, right? Keeping balance, something that I've talked about a lot in the podcast as far as respect goes. Keeping balance is key. And this is one way to do it. So as you have fair compromise, fairness means both people are equally as invested in the goal, that they give up equally enough to get to the goal. Now, is life fair? Absolutely not. There will be times and instances where you're going to have to give a little bit more than your partner, and times when they're going to give a little bit more than you. Yes, it happens. But if you come in with the mindset of fairness, it's easier to get to your goal, right, than it is if you come in with the mindset of my way. I want to do it like this. And so as we continue on, negotiating requires being vulnerable. We talked about vulnerability a lot and extensive. We might just do a whole podcast on vulnerability. Understanding. So it takes understanding to be vulnerable. Open yourself up to whatever criticism. Bring your principles to the table. If your principle is you are okay with spankings, put that on the table. Your partner she may criticize it. She may criticize you because you're okay with it. Get through the criticism. Get the feelings out the way. get to the facts. What happened as a result of getting spankings when you were younger? I know people have different opinions on that, and you are entitled to your own opinion. Just remember, you reap what you sow. So if you sowing something, then you gonna find out later on what it's gonna be. And in my line of work, what I do, I see the extreme ends of it. I see greatly respectful kids, and I see kids that are just like, whoa, calling their mamas B words and all that jazz, ready to fight their mamas. So them kids didn't get no spankings, just so y'all know that. Like, they mamas be like, yeah, I didn't want to spank them, I just give them time out. All right, but you reap what you sow. So you sow that, that's what you're going to get back. If you plant sunflower seeds in the ground, them going to be your sunflower seeds. So don't complain about the outcome if you weren't willing to change the philosophy or the whatever it took to get to the outcome. Communicating is key. I will talk about communicating a lot as we continue on, because communication is huge. You have to communicate these things. You have to communicate your goals. You have to communicate your values, your principles, your morals, what's important to you. You have to communicate those things to your partner. They can't get what you don't communicate to them. Third key, letting go. This is a good one. You have to let go. It's not like you're driving a car. You're not going to let go of the steering wheel, because then you're just going to veer off course and then crash. But in life, sometimes you have to let go to hold on. Some of y'all going to go read some quotes on that, but that's true. Sometimes you have to let go to hold on. Sometimes for growth, you have to let go. So remember that. As you go through your communication and you guys go through your compromise and you guys figure out a better, respectful way to grow the relationship, that both sides are going to have to let go of something. So in closing, before I get out of here, compromise, again, something that you've heard a lot. Communicate, another thing that you heard a lot. Negotiate. Oh, dang, that's them three things you hear a lot. Seems to be a growing theme. And at the end of the day, goals. You must have them so that the compromise doesn't feel like compromise. It feels like a win. Any way that you can turn something into something better, why not just do it? And as you guys go through the different types of compromise, principled and pragmatic, rational and fair compromise, remember those three things, those three keys to get to those types of compromise. You must first want to compromise. It's a decision. You got to want to communicate. And you have to want to negotiate. Those are things that you have to do to get to that level, to get to the place where you're trying to go. And so in closing, I appreciate you guys listening. We will continue to talk about respect and ways to gain respect in a relationship. We will continue to talk about goals. Like I said, our goal is to bridge the gap, to talk about things that aren't being talked about that need to be talked about. Don't forget, you guys can like our videos. We will have one coming out with everybody soon. And then also subscribe to our channel so you can hit the bell, get notifications whenever we go. We're going to start going live here soon. If you guys have questions, email us, post them in the comments. We will answer your questions. If you have relationship questions, parenting questions, anything that has in the realm of relationship, you have questions about it, post that down there. We'll answer your questions. We're unbiased. We keep it real. We tell it like it is here at The Vibe. So I look forward to seeing you guys and hearing from you guys soon. Take care, and remember, keep communicating, keep negotiating, keep compromising, have goals. We out.